Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Here we are, week 5. Hopefully your fantasy season is going well. If it is or is not, today we're going to be talking trades to help you improve your squad. So stay tuned. Hopefully you'll learn a little something today on this edition of Headlocks and Hot Packs. So the first thing that we want to do today is take a look at my roster here. I am the last remaining undefeated team in the league, so you would think that I would be pretty content with my roster. I'm also the highest scoring team in the league. We're 4-0 here on the season heading into week 5. So again, you would think that I would be happy with the way things are. However, just looking at my roster, I want to identify any weak areas regardless of where you are in the standings. So, right off the bat, I can tell you that Antonio Gibson's stock is probably going to start heading the opposite direction because Brian Robinson is going to be returning at any time now. Of course, he has been out since the preseason due to a gunshot wound. But he's on the verge of making a return. And then the other thing I can identify here is Cordero Patterson has just been placed on the injured reserve after having a unidentified knee procedure. He was top 10 running back this year, ranked number 7 so far, and then Antonio Gibson ranked number 22. So that definitely is going to hurt, especially the loss of Cordero Patterson for at least the next 4 weeks. So right now I can say that running back is definitely a need for my team. Again, even though I am 4-0 and at the top of the league standings and the highest scoring team, you would think that Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase have basically carried that, but overall, neither one of them have really quite performed up to par. Jefferson is coming off a big game, but I got a big week out of TJ Hawkinson last week. Cordero Patterson, like I said, top 10 running back there, and James Robinson has actually been a nice surprise as well. So running back is definitely a need for me. So the next thing that I need to do is identify what I can possibly give up. What are my trade chips? And right off the top, I can already tell you that I snagged Dak Prescott. He was dropped to waivers once he was injured. So I picked him up and hung on to him on the off chance that I would be able to trade him. So that is probably my most valuable trade chip that I would be able to add on to what I already have on my roster, as opposed to subtracting from that, like such as trading either Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. I wouldn't be opposed to dealing Terry McLaurin should I to get a running back in return. But again, I would be looking to add on to Gibson, Robinson, Singletary, and Patterson. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to check out the rest of the rosters for the league. And if you're using ESPN, that's very easy. You just go to the league tab there, click on the rosters link, and that will bring you to all of the rosters for the entire league. And I've gone ahead and saved us all some time here and scouted out some possible trade partners for the pieces that I feel that I can offer to add to my team in advance. And right off the bat, the first one that I'm looking at here is this team, Big Sir Lancelot. That is my friend Matt. And again, my trade chips are Dak Prescott and Terry McLaurin. His starting quarterback is Derek Carr. If we look at Derek Carr's stats here, he's a top 12 quarterback. You know, not horrible. I don't think he's quite performed up to par. But the other thing here is he has Dalvin Cook, James Conner, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire as possible additions to my team. So it could line up there, but again, you don't really know if he would be interested in making that swap where he is 3-1 and technically a playoff team at the moment. And the other one that I went ahead and identified is this team down here, Najee by Nature. This is Chris. He has Matthew Stafford as his starting quarterback. You can see his rank thus far this year is 28th, so definitely not performed up to par. His record is 1-3, not very good. He's near the bottom of the standings. And he's got 3 running backs here as well, Dameon Pierce, Aaron Jones, and Najee Harris. So I might be able to pry one of them away with a Dak Prescott and possibly a I don't know, a depth running back, like maybe a Jerick McKinnon who was on my squad there. So that would be another team that I identified as a possible trade partner. I have offered both of these teams trades similar to that in the past if they have declined, so I'm not going to make any offers right now. But that brings me to another very important point that you definitely want to implore or include when you are making trade offers, but you definitely want to converse with the person that you're making an offer to. If you're just making a blind offer out to somebody, they're not going to know what you're thinking, and I don't know what the percentages are on that, but I would be willing to bet that they are a lot less likely to decline it without having some form of communication back and forth about what each other is thinking. So that's a very important part when it comes to trades. Once in a while, you might be able to make a blind offer and someone will accept it, but generally speaking, you'll want to communicate with your potential trade partner. Those were some basics on identifying or evaluating your roster and identifying potential trade partners, trade chips that you could move to add to your team. Now we're going to take a look at some trade offers. I'm going to show you some examples of what I feel are trade offers that are way too good for yourself, way too bad for your opponent, or way too good for your potential trade partner, and something that might be pretty even. So we'll start at the top here. You can see these are just examples. I've let these people know that this is going to be going on in advance, so these aren't actual trade offers, but perfect examples. So here is one that I sent out. Once in a while, you might get something crazy like this. Once in a while, you might be able to send something crazy like this and have somebody accept it. But I sent this out to the team chilling at the Galladay Inn. This is Danielle. For me to receive Jalen Waddle and Saquon Barkley in exchange for Jerick McKinnon and Chase Claypool. So let's go over and look at her roster. And her record, she is sitting at 2-2 on the season, so not too bad. She's got a very high scoring team, which hasn't quite worked out just yet. I beat her in week 1 like 130 to 120. So she's been putting up points, but facing opponents who have been putting up points as well. So it hasn't really reflected in her record. But looking at her roster here, I can see, I would say probably her greatest need would be help at running back. Her other running backs are Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, and look at the bench, Michael Carter. So it wouldn't make really any sense for her at all to trade Saquon Barkley. He's the number 2 overall running back in fantasy. And then, of course, Jalen Waddle, he's the number 5 wide receiver in fantasy. So this is just kind of an example of a very crazy offer. It would work out remarkably for me, but wouldn't do anything for my trade partner here. The only reason I would really take this on top of getting, or an additional reason I should say, is my league setup. That's something that you also want to pay attention to when identifying potential trade partners. Danielle and I are in the same division. We are in direct competition with each other. We play each other 3 times this year, and she's actually my opponent this week as well for the 2nd time. But if we win our division, we get an automatic playoff spot, so identifying a trade partner here, I would be a lot less inclined to do anything to help out her squad since we're in direct competition. A trade like this, obviously, I'd be getting the better end of the deal, but that additional thing there would be hurting a division opponent, so that's kind of an added bonus for me, but not too much else to speak of on that one. Again, you're very likely not going to get anybody to accept an offer like this, and most likely they're just going to laugh in your face. So chances are sending out something like this is not good for you and could give you a bad reputation as a bad trade partner in your league. So just be careful when sending out crazy trade offers like this. The next trade that we're going to take a look at here is one that I would call an example of something that on paper it looks like the trade partner is getting the better end of the deal, but it's a lot more fair when meets the eye. So this one would see me receiving T. Higgins and Damian Pierce in exchange for Devin Singletary and Jamar Chase. This is the team Najee by Nature, who we identified as a trade partner for Dak, possibly for Dak Prescott. So let's take a look at their roster one more time. Again, I'm seeing quarterback would be a potential need. Wide receiver, definitely a need, so that was why they would be interested in Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is actually his best receiver, so honestly, I think this trade is a lot more fair than meets the eye. Like I said, Jamar Chase is clearly the best player in the deal, but if you take a look here, T. Higgins is the number 12 ranked wide receiver thus far this season. A little bit banged up. He's got the questionable tag there. I think he may have missed a game already this year, but he's been performing pretty well, and quite frankly, Jamar Chase has been underperforming a little bit thus far, especially given his ADP. I picked him in the very beginning stages of the second round on the turn of the draft. And then Dameon Pierce as well has worked his way up to the number 14 ranked running back for the Houston Texans. He was a really ranked, rose up the rankings in preseason for draft boards. So a lot of people were high on him going into the year. And I would honestly say that's a better running back than Devin Singletary at this point. A less crowded backfield. You got Rex Burkhead taking on some third down passing work there. But looks like Dameon Pierce is going to continue getting handed the ball more and more as the season goes along. Coming off his best game of his short NFL career, put up 19 points last week, along with T. Higgins putting up 18 points last week. So, yeah, I'm giving up the best player in this deal, but this trade is not quite as bad as, like I said, you would think. A lot of people see that name Jamar Chase, that's the sexy name, so you assume immediately you're not going to do that, but this is a lot more fair, and honestly, this is definitely one that I would consider if I could do something to get either Dameon Pierce or T. Higgins without subtracting Jamar Chase and adding to the tandem of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I would be a lot more inclined to accept this one. But yeah, this one is actually very intriguing. For the most part, if somebody sends you a trade offer and you kind of look at it and give a reaction of or ooh, that means it's pretty fair, so you might want to give that a lot of thought and really look into it. As for this one here, again, I'm looking to add to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, not subtract one of them, so I am going to decline it, but a very good trade offer from the Najee by Nature team here. And now that brings us to our final trade example here, and this is one that definitely would not help me out at all. It's basically on the crazy spectrum except reverse of the first one that we checked out, but I would be receiving Jahan Dotson from the Team Cooper Troopers in exchange for Jamar Chase. So let's go ahead and look at Team Cooper Troopers, see what they actually are in need of, and see if there's anything that makes sense here. I'm always going to do that before I just outright decline something, because obviously if somebody's making you an offer, they're interested in making a deal of some kind. So I'm going to take a look at their roster, see if there's anything that makes any sense for me at the same time, as opposed to what they offered. I'm in need of a running back. His best running back is Ezekiel Elliott. I'm pretty down on Ezekiel Elliott, especially considering he is starting Zeke and Tony Pollard, which to me shows that he is also down on Zeke Elliott. Outside of that, he's also got Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson, which, again, you could take that as him having insurance for both of them, which is smart, but if you're starting both of them like Pollard and Zeke, I would take that as you're down on Zeke there, even though he was, I think, drafted pretty high, if I'm remembering correctly. And again, Henderson and Akers, I'm not interested in either of them. And then the only other running backs, Kenneth Walker, Matt Breida, nothing that I am looking to add to my roster, not really any fit there. So again, I'm not seeing anything here that makes any sense. He's got Aaron Rodgers, who has kind of underperformed this year, so maybe a possible trade partner for Dak Prescott, but where I would be looking for running back, I'm not getting anything in return there that would make me feel comfortable giving up Dak at this point, because honestly, I'm quite frankly happy with keeping Dak, where my starting quarterback right now, Justin Herbert, has already had a rib issue, so who knows? It wouldn't be too, I guess, stupid to hang on to Dak and possibly see if anything better could happen in the future. So that's a trade that I would definitely decline. Okay, so you might be saying to yourself, well, Eric, your team is 4-0. You kind of have earned the right to sit back and decline deals, just based off of the amount of points you scored and your record. My team is dead last, so what do I do? So let's take a look here. We're going to go back to Team Cooper Troopers here. They're 1-3, 11th out of the 12-team league here. And again, they, like I said, if I'm them, I might be looking for a quarterback. Definitely need a running back. Obviously, the best player on the team is Cooper Kupp here. And quite frankly, outside of that, you don't have a lot of trade chips. So if you're in that boat, what do you do? So my best advice in this case would be, I'm looking to move Cooper Kupp. Now, you might think that's crazy, he's my best player, but I'm going to shop Cooper Kupp and I'm going to get the biggest package, giggity, that I can for him. So I'm going to see if I can't get a running back out of that, even if I have to add in possibly Cam Akers or maybe Kenneth Walker, Darrell Henderson as kind of like a get-back running back for my trade partner. I'm looking to also get in return another receiver. I've got Devontae Smith there and Jerry Jeudy who have underperformed. So if I could send Cooper Kupp to, say, for example, my team in exchange for like a Terry McLaurin and maybe a Devin Singletary or something like that, that's an avenue that I would be looking to go. I'm looking to get a plethora of players for that one, just because if I'm this team, I need help at multiple positions. You don't have a lot of trade chips. Quite frankly, that's the only road that you can take outside of hitting it on the waiver wire, which is going to get harder and harder and harder as the season progresses. So if you're at the bottom of the pack, identify your best player and shop them. See if you can't get an enormous package in return for them to try and improve as many spots in your starting lineup for that one player as you can. That's all I have for you today. Hopefully there was a little couple of nuggets in there to help you out with your fantasy season, whether you're at the top of the standings, the bottom, or you're kind of in the middle of the pack. Maybe there was something that can help you head on towards the top of the leaderboard. I would like for my season to continue that way. We'll see if that happens. But until we meet again, that's all I've got again for this edition of Headlocks and Hot Packs. I'm Eric, and I will see you guys again very soon.